Here we go. Today we're going to talk about budgeting. Now, this is an enormous subject. Really, you could, on budgeting and forecasting, which is, we'll talk about that in a second, but this is something you probably get a master's degree in or a PhD in. But I'm going to try to teach you the basics of it. We'll call it Budget 101 in about 15 minutes here. So let's get started. About budgets. I know people hear budgets a lot, but that doesn't mean they really know anything about it. But we're going to fix that today. I start with budget terminology. Now, there's two purposes of a budget. Budget is one, to forecast something that's going to happen in the future. We gather information and we try to predict the future. So we forecast, and then we track and evaluate and adjust to it. Now, I know there's a lot of programs out there and people are like, oh gosh, we have computer programs that do our budget. Let me tell you, anybody knows me, I'll tell you that computers do not run businesses, managers do. That's great if you have, good equipment, good software, and all that does is help you do things faster. What you need to understand is you need to understand how things work, okay? So what we're going to talk about, learn budget terminology to begin with, okay? Is, especially when we see it on a spreadsheet, and this is the way to think about it, okay? Daily dollars is the actual amount spent, okay? The actual amount spent on here. Our daily number is the average daily allowable spending amount, okay? If you've got a 30-day period that we're budgeting for, let's say on the average month on there, and we've got $3,000 to spend on whatever it is, you can budget for anything. That means we can spend on average of $100 a day. And if we spend $50 the first day, that means we can spend $150 the next day, and we're still on track, okay? Because I said it's about forecasting and it's about tracking on here. If there's one good thing to be good at in business, I've seen it time and time and time and time again, and I know this, I absolutely know this, is be good at budgeting. Be good at forecasting, be good at tracking, and be good at managing the budget as it goes through, okay? So, the daily variance or variances, variance in a budget is the difference between the budgeted amount and the actual amount. So if we said we were going to spend $100 on something and we spent $90 on something, okay, the variance is $10. And in budget talk is the actual is related to the budget, and the actual is either over budget or under budget. Okay, that's budget talk. Okay, we talk about learning how to talk the talk on here. That's budget talk for you. And if we had a $100 budget and we spent $90, the actual and the variance, the $10 variance would be $10 under budget, is what it is. If we spent $110, we would have spent $10 over budget, over or under, okay? I don't like a lot of, students and things like that, and people say, oh, it's plus 10, minus 10. I don't want a plus and minus. It's over or under, because I want to remember what we're talking about is the budget number, the budget number. So a variance is how much the actual varies from the budgeted amount on here. So daily variance. We'll look at month to date, MTD. Anytime you see MTD on a budget, that means month to date, is the actual month to date amount spent. That means if we had a budget of $100 a day and 10 days into the month, 10 days into the month, okay, we would have budgeted to spend $100 on there. And if we've spent $110, again, by the 10th of our month or period or whatever we're looking at, we would be $10 over budget on there. So month to date is the actual amount that we spend to date. The MTD budget is just what I just talked about, is month to date, where are we in the budget? Okay, I'll get to this as we go through. And the month to date variance is the difference between the month to date actual MTD dollar and MTD budget. And this tells you where you are related to actual spending. In other words, where we should be this month and where we are this month. And then managerially, we've got to react to this. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Now, let me show you on a spreadsheet what we're talking about. I know, like I said, I know we've got, I see all kinds of budgets out there, but in your mind, in the manager's mind, you have to be comparing, okay, the budget to actual numbers to get a variance, and then we know what we are on time. In management, I always say the first thing I've got to know what's going on, and then I can decide what to do about it. If I don't know what's going on, I'm just, throwing stuff into the darkness. I don't know. I want to know, tell me what's going on, and then I'll think about what we should do to it. So let me get us on a spreadsheet. I'm trying to get this done in 15 minutes. Okay, so a budget project. This is how it lines up. We look in here. I've got a date, okay? A date, say if we're doing for 30 days, then we've got, we're gonna have 30 days down here. Again, the daily dollars are the daily actual expenditures that we track on a daily basis. The month-to-date dollars is we're tracking and is a running total of where we are, okay? Where we are to date. Then the daily budget every day should be the same. Okay, if it's $100, I'll show you them, shortly. 100, 100, 100, 100. And then the difference between the daily budget and the daily actual is a daily variance. Okay? Is a daily variance on here. Now the same thing. It shows you, like I said, the daily budget is $100 and we spent $110 today. We know that our daily variance is $10, what? $10 over budget. That's what it is. Okay? All right. Month to date dollars, like I said, it's a running total of where we are during the month. Okay? And we go over MTD month to date budget will show you where we forecast we're going to be. Okay? Where we're forecast we're going to be. And the difference between the month to date budget and the month to date actual is our month to date variance. Okay? So, and we'll know where we are related to our monthly budget at any given point. And of course, the trick is to stay up to date on this. And I've also got a comment box out here as well, because if something goes wonky on the budget on a particular day, I want to make a note out here. Okay, I want to make a note so I remember what happened. Okay, and where if I come up, way over, way under, or whatever happens, I know what happened and when it happened, and I know what happened here. Something unusual happened that caused us to be way under or way over, which is, it's according to what kind of budget it is. We can budget for anything. We can budget for costs. We can budget for sales. We can budget for advertising expenditures. We can budget for any kind of expense we can budget for on here. And we say how much we forecast that we're going to spend in this particular time frame, and then we track it and see how we're doing, and then we can react to how we're doing. Let me give you an example of this. Okay, let's just look at this. From what we've got here is that for December, I'm spending, December, 31 days in December, and my budget is $100 a day. Okay, so I'm giving you whatever this is. Well, this is probably an expense budget. It could be a labor, it could be a sales budget on here. If we've got a little tiny operation and it's gonna, you know, we're budgeting to do $100 a day in sales or $100 a day in labor or whatever we're doing, that's what, but we're budgeting over here for $3,100 in this category here. So our month-to-date budget, look at our daily budget. It's the same every day, 100, 100, 100, 100. That's our daily. And again, that's average. That's average on there. Our month-to-date budget, the first day is 100, the second day is 200, the third day is 3, 4, 5, and the sixth day we should be, if we are right with our numbers, we should be at $600. I mean, you're never going to, rarely, I mean, never say never, although I just did, is, you know, you're going to be up, you're going to be down, but over the month, what we want to do, if this is a sales budget, we want to be a little over budget. So we're doing $3,100 in this budget for December here. Okay? If it's an expense budget, I want to be under budget. Okay? But the thing is, I always want to know where I am related to the budget. So let's just look at this. Okay, the first day, our budget is $100. Month to date, $100. We come in at 90. Okay, our daily variance, we compare the $100 daily to the $100 actual to get the daily variance, and that's $10 under budget. I don't like using plus and minuses on there. They're just hard to see. It's easy to see that under budget, I put in brackets, and over budget, I just put the number. Yeah, but that's just personal preference of mine. I like to be able, you know, we've got all these budgets to look at, and I just like it to be easy to read on here. So the first day, we're $10 under. Of course, month to date, okay, we've done $90. We're $10 under month to date because it's the first day of the month. Next day, we do $95. 95 actual compared to 100. We're $5 under for that day, again in brackets. Okay, so our total month to date is 185. Okay, on there. And our month to date budget is 200. So now we compare month to date to month to the actual to budget, and we're now $15 under. Okay. It's going to what kind of budget, and if it's sales, I'm kind of going, gosh, we're going in a bad direction here. We need to do something. And if it was a sales budget, like I said before, we want to come in over budget on sales. If it's an expense budget, we need to come in under budget at the end of the month on there. Okay, if this was an expense budget, I'd be, okay, good, we're under now on the second day. Look at the third day, $105 we end up with. 100. So for the daily variance now, okay, we're $5 over that day. Okay. Month to date, we are at 290 actual. Okay, and we're budgeted at 300, so we're still under budget, but now we're under $10 under. It's a cumulative or running total as we get through. Let's go to the fourth day. Seems tedious, but to me, I love budgets. So my warped view of the world, I love a good budget. $125 compared to $100 for the day. That means for that day, we're $25 over budget. Okay, we're actually at $415 for the month. Our budget is $400, and so we're at $15 over budget. So compare daily to daily to get the daily variance, and month to date to get the month to date variance on here. One good day or one bad day does not make a good month or a bad month. Okay, this is the number I really am interested in over here, but I also want to know, wow, what if this was an expense budget? What happened here? 125 over budget. Well, I'd probably make my comment got blocked off here. I just write out here, 15, you know, boom. Now, we get back to the fifth day. We actually did $95 Budget was 100. We're back to $5 under budget. Okay, we're under for the day. Month to date, we're at $510. Our budget was $500, so we're $10 over budget still for the month to date. So we were under for the day, but that does not get us under for the month on here. Okay? On here. Like I said, one good day does not make a good month. One bad day does not make a bad month. But a good day or a bad day gets my attention. You know, if this was a sales budget, I would say, you know, if you're getting into the month and halfway through the month, we're getting under budget on sales. We're not going to hit if we don't do something, I'm going to do something. I'm going to look at my advertising budget. Do we have money in the advertising budget over here? If we do, I'm like, okay, let's put an ad in the paper, or let's do something to get people to come into the business. If we're a retail business, let's do something to affect sales. Okay, an expense budget, at least I've got, you know, at mid-month, at least I've got a couple of weeks to cut things down. Okay, it's easier if I'm trying to save $100. It's easier to save $10 a day for 10 days than it is $100 for one day. On that, that's just a general rule of, you know, cutting expenses. Is, you know, I would say it's over the course of a year or something like that, it's easier to find 100 places to save $1,000 than it is one place to save $100,000 as we go through on here. Is this look and all these budgets? You got budgets for sales, you got budgets for expenses. You know, in restaurants, you know, it's called the big three. It's food cost, beverage cost, and labor cost. If you got, you know, in a restaurant, if you got food costs, beverage costs, and labor costs under control, it's hard to lose money on that. If I look, you bring me a restaurant, says this restaurant's losing money. First place I'm going to look at food costs, cost of sales. In other words, food costs, beverage costs, labor costs, the big three. If it's not one of those, one, you're probably not losing money, or if you are, it's going to be glaring somewhere. You know, glaring somewhere. Maybe you're paying too much rent or something like that. You really in a, you know, in a restaurant or in retail in general, it's hard to make money if you're spending over 10%. I would like to come in way under that, over 10% on rent or mortgage or whatever you are. The building's costing you too much on that. You know, you know, there's guidelines on food costs, beverage costs, labor costs, but we'll talk about that some other time. But anyway, this is how it works. This is how managers think, is tell me what the numbers say. Tell me what the numbers say, and I'll try to figure out what's going on. But the first thing to do is know what's going on before I know what to do about it on that. I mean, I've done business a long time, and I can see things as good as most people can. But I still don't like intuition. And I've got good intuition. And I'm right a lot, but that's not good enough. I want to be right all the time if I can. And you do that by looking at the numbers on here. Okay? I hope this helps. We'll talk about it more. And if I said, if there's one thing that I can make you good at as a manager, it would be budgeting. And this is really, really important in your career. Okay? To be good at budgeting. Okay? That's how to get ahead in the business world. Okay? I hope, you know, I know that's a fire hose version. That's what I do for a living, it seems like. But anyway, we'll talk about this more as we go through. We'll just call this Budgeting 101. Thank you.